The 4 people entered the room, and what about the Zoom people?
These are all, so I'll admit everybody.
Phyllis, there's Phyllis.
There's
Hi, Phyllis.
Hi, Phyllis.
Give me just one.
Oh, and Anna.
Anna's phone and Nancy's iPhone.
That doesn't make any sense because obviously people have hot tubs that are way above that.
Yeah, I think there's probably a different regulation for a hot tub versus,
Yeah,
cool.
when I Google it, AI doesn't come up with the law.
Yeah, and AI.
But that's not this meeting. I'll put in a
Yeah,
document.
you know what? Certainly send all of us an email.
Should we start?
Hello, everybody. We're going to call the meeting to order. And I'm Marcia Seligman, and welcome to our Rules Committee. So hopefully all of you have the agenda that was posted, and we're gonna work from the agenda. Denise, are you here?
Yes, she's waiting.
Is Denise waiting? Okay. Isabella's gonna get Denise. And then, of course, we have a quorum. So that is it.
Okay, there's Denise. Hi, Denise.
Hi, Denise.
And see who could hear, if they could hear us or if they could speak back to see if
Yeah, everyone has her
Everybody's on mute.
microphone off.
everybody's on mute.
And I don't see Denise's picture.
So
She-
she is on.
Okay.
Please,
Can you see?
yes,
I can see you guys.
and can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So right now, we are calling the meeting to order. We have a quorum, which more than a quorum, which is great. So thank you all for coming. And I know that these rules have been, you know, a lot of them, they have been adopted. And I hope all of you saw my brief, well, I don't know how brief it is, but the letter I did put together based on the discussion of our core documents by Becker. And what I'm recommending, I did go through with Dave, and Dave basically gave me his comments because he had written them on the face of the rules, and they kind of track with mine as well. And we still have some ambiguity, and we still really have to address electric bikes because in Florida, there have been 2 recent fires. One fire occurred in a family's house where the bike was charging in the house. And the other fire in Florida occurred when the bike was charging in a shed. I do think in Florida, even though they haven't adopted rules yet how to deal with electric bikes, the fire department has. So there's a fire code of electric bikes. My thought process on this is to make this consistent because we thought we were going to treat the electric bikes the same as we treat other bikes. But I don't think that is really possible. My thought process is I don't think we want any residents charging their electric bikes in their rooms because the fire could break out at night and that would adversely affect more life and property. if we're going to allow electric bikes to be charged, I think they should be charged on a non-flammable surface in our garage where we have security that can monitor this. So I don't know what everybody's thoughts are, but I would appreciate your thoughts. And I also did read what Denise sent us that Becker put out in 2024 regarding electric bikes. The fire department or the fire code has updated this. And I do think outside counsel should be involved with regard to our rules and develop something where we can monitor it. And it would provide for safety of property and person in Playa del Sol. I also, Holly, what's the next agenda item?
Let me find which one.
Yeah, just do the one that was posted.
Discussion of the rules and thoughts on clarifying them and organizing them so they are easy to find and follow.
Right, I do think our rules are too long. We've got almost, if we get rid of some of the rules regarding our ocean lounge, our rules are about 25 pages in somewhat of a narrative form. And there are ambiguities. Who's a minor? What is allowed? No one can do something after 8 p.m. I do think because of agentic AI, which, I no longer have an admin. I no longer have 3 computer screens. I do have AI, but not agentic AI where they can organize this, clarify it, make it unambiguous. I really do think outside counsel, we should get a bid, flat fee, and it doesn't even have to be Becker. We can go to 2 other firms to say, can you put this in a clear form with a clear table of contents to make these unambiguous? That is really my recommendation, because Phyllis put in this book is beautiful. Phyllis put in all these little tabs and everything else, and I didn't even know the rules had been approved by the board, and they're approved with he, she, they. There's like who's a family member, who's a guest, luggage, shopping carts. There's just a lot of things that are ambiguous and I think should be clear and put in a very neat form. Does everybody agree with that recommendation? We can spend hours on this, and who's going to type in all these changes?
Yeah.
Typos, we mentioned things 2 or 3 times in other sections. I know, Denise, you're a board member. Do you agree?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I think they should be, done correctly, or we did them, but they should be in a simpler form. I absolutely agree with that. Because to read through those rules is ridiculous.
I agree. Now, talking about the rules, I know that once this gets like tweaked and this and that, are people still, who's sending out default notices?
Who's sending out what?
Default notices of people in, because these rules were
You mean the violations? They come from Scott.
the violations. that they're
They
in?
come from Scott's office.
Okay, so Scott sends them out. And,
Correct.
are there, so what I'm looking for is, basically, what, if we look at all these violation notices, what seems to be the most, what has the most problems with these rules? Are they all over the place, or is it, what are the issues here that Scott is finding more than one-off?
Oh, you
What's
have
a
to ask.
constant theme of violations?
Could ask
Well, the board
since
must
they
see
report
these.
them. Yeah. I don't know, Denise, do you see them?
No, we don't see, we used to see them. We don't see them anymore.
So Scott,
Scott,
Okay.
Scott can probably give you something along the lines. Yes, we used to get them, in his weekly reports, but we're not getting them anymore.
Okay, because I think that also makes a difference.
Correct.
How we're going to present this to outside counsel is, here's what we're finding are the biggest offenders and why.
I think you went over the core document changes proposed by outside counsel.
Yeah.
You've already,
Yes. So with regard to our core documents, I sent a letter describing basically what Becker had recommended in 2021 regarding the problems with our core documents. And it's
Right.
yes, thank you. Hi, David. It's more than just, we should incorporate changes to Florida law. It's a lot in here, and including like rentals. Now, one thing about rentals is we want to make sure that the rent, we should have an addendum that an owner's required to put on a so-called owner's lease to say that here are the rules the renters have to abide by. The rentals have to have insurance, naming Playa del Sol as an additional insured. And certainly that, the owners have to understand in that document that the owners and renters are jointly liable for any issues that the renters do here in our building. The other thing that was a good recommendation by Becker, Becker wants the board to have more flexibility about kind of ancillary spending. And that may make sense because we want to maybe have concierge services in our building, like a third party who comes here and maybe serves water and various drinks and, makes money from it. Or we may want to have valet parking during high season where we would hire a third party contractor to provide valet services if we're still doing our roof construction and we need to provide for all the guests and family members that come during season. So I thought that was a great recommendation on the part of Becker, and also stronger language regarding an owner's right to modify the footprint. They feel that our language is somewhat weak. And they had numerous changes to our bylaws and said, why don't we just adopt a complete new set of bylaws that really comply with Florida law? And it's got to be simple and it's got to be a form document. So I do think that was another good recommendation that Becker made. And on pages 10 to 15 of Becker's letter of 2021, it goes through just a number of changes that really are good changes that we should consider. So another thing about the number of board of directors, it's inconsistent in our bylaws and then in our articles of incorporation. And they think, to have an affirmative vote of 186 apartments, this provision should be changed to match the levels of amendment approval in the declaration and articles of incorporation to 2/3 of those that are present in person or proxy. And if we have 2/3 present, then the majority of those 2/3 can pass whatever we are recommending.
What number is that?
That is Article 7, and that is Article 8. Apologize. The first Article 8 amendment to bylaws that they're recommending. The other one is that dispute between the board and members of the community should be arbitrated first. And I think that is a good thing because, we get to understand what is going on and maybe we can resolve an issue before a member has to bring suit, which they have the right to do. And and I thought requiring arbitration is a good thing because we are all owners here and part of a community. And then that was the other thing. And then obviously we can easily change the rules at the pool just to allow beverages in a non-breakable container, and we're not going to have the security guards sniff what's in the beverages because that's too difficult. And then I don't know, my thoughts are we could go through these for years. I could spend 5 or 6 hours clarifying who they are, she is, family members, guests, parking, because David brought up another point, and so did Brooke, that basically with regard to the stickers, if people travel and they have 2 cars, one car could be kept at their second home or their Airbnb, and the other car could be brought to Playa del Sol. Basically, families should be allowed to have 2 stickers, but only one can park in the garage space. And I think that makes perfect sense. I don't think you should have to pay for a second. Yeah. If you're a resident,
family member,
if you're a family member, you should be allowed to have 2 cars. And some people do have 2 cars, that they own 2 cars. Right. And if they only have 1 garage space, they should be able to have 2 stickers. And sometimes one person can park in the garage for 6 months and the other person can park in the garage for 6 months. When I lived in New York City, I slept in the living room for 6 months and then, switching on and off in a 1-bedroom. So, to make it fair, to make it make sense. I don't want these rules to get overly cumbersome like I think they are.
I thought that you could get 2 parking spaces because when we bought, we have 2 on.
Oh, okay. But you're lucky because a lot of people only have 1. So.
But I'll rent a space.
Yes.
From an owner.
Yeah. But I'm saying if you and Jimmy wanted to share, if you didn't have that second space, if you wanted to share 1 space, only 1 person can park there at a time, but you could share it.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. So, it's just a suggestion, and I thought that was a good one that we talked about. So I don't know. I do think that we have to abide by the fire code with regard to our bikes, and whoever does deal with outside counsel, I think it's safer for the electric bikes to be charged on a non-flammable surface in our garage where there's security. But then again, it's up to the board. Is there?
Any comments?
Yeah. Does anyone, one quick question. I got this regarding the fining committee. And I don't know who it came from. Steve got it, Holly got it, and
Yeah.
I got it. And it was tucked under our door.
Yeah,
And
New
I,
business finding.
yes,
Yeah.
and Steve does not know where that came from. Was that you that put it under our door?
You know, having had Donna Berger write very nasty letters to me about just speaking to people about board members in the elevators, I
Okay,
would not unsolicitedly put a physical document under somebody's door.
oh, okay. I didn't think it, I mean, I wasn't criticizing it.
Oddly enough, Donna Becker, when I requested an arbitrator 5 years ago in a written inquiry,
Right,
Donna Berger was emphatic that the option to use an arbitrator was not allowed by Playa del Sol.
well, it isn't.
Which is, well, anyways.
Okay,
It's why we should consider going with somebody different than Becker.
I understand what you're saying. So we don't know where that came from.
Maybe, Isabel.
What, can you explain what it is that you got?
Yes, it is, what
New
both, well, Holly, Steve
Phyllis
and
might have
I.
gotten it. I don't know if Phyllis.
Phyllis didn't get it.
I haven't been home for 2 weeks, so I don't.
No, this
No,
was
no, no,
before
this
you left.
came 3 or 4 months ago.
I
It
don't-
said new business fining committee. My name was misspelled, but that doesn't matter.
I didn't
But-
get,
We don't know where it came from, and Steve doesn't know where it came from.
So maybe ask the office.
Yeah, we'll
What's the
ask the
topic?
office. But whatever it is, it talks about what the fining committee is, to propose a fine. This kind of tracks Florida law. So it's not a big deal. We were just curious why the 3 of us got it. Okay, so maybe it was the office who sent it to us.
Wait. Marcia, I think that's something that I printed a few months back and you guys didn't have it. And I think I put it by your doors.
Oh,
okay,
thank you.
I think that's what it was when we did a few months ago. Now that I'm remembering, I made copies and stuck them by your doors because I don't think you had them.
Right, correct.
Okay.
Okay.
And also, thank you for this article, Denise, on e-bikes.
From Donna Berger, yes.
But also, there is a fire code that we have to follow with regard to e-bikes. So there may not be a Florida law, but there is a fire code. That,
Isn't it, it's the lithium batteries, right? It
well,
talks about the lithium batteries and how condos are now coming up with rules on how to either protect your battery after you take it off the bike. It's got to be in some type of a bag, that article talks about.
yeah,
Some condos are not having electric bikes. It's a whole big article. It's a good article.
it is a good article, and it was written in 2024.
Right.
To join.
But you know, with regard to this,
Where is it?
It's just when
people do have electric bikes, and they are becoming, almost everyone has an electric bike.
Okay, got it.
And we do,
Thank
you know,
Okay.
are these unit owners who have electric bikes, are they removing their batteries when they go upstairs? We can't monitor that. So I do, you know, think that when someone talks to outside counsel, that we should talk about a place in the garage where they can be charged, that they're on a non-flammable surface and they can only be charged up to 60%, and they have to be charged in a cool and dry place. So I don't know where that is going to be, but it is scary if they're doing it in their units.
How do we get this in motion? I think this is so important
Mhm.
where a tragedy happens.
Yeah, tragedy happened. Okay, so other than that, um, is there anything else that anyone would like to address about? We could go for years with this.
I think we should get a turn. We've been doing that since 21, and every year there's a rules committee, and every year it just gets passed along to the following year and to the following year. I think our building docs, since Donna Berger did it back in 21, nobody's done anything. I just think we should get an attorney and have them do it once and be done with it, because it's never going to get done. We're so outdated with some of the stuff.
Right.
It just doesn't, it's just not working. Not even last year. It's very difficult to change anything in there. Just get counsel, pay the bill, get it done, and let's move on.
And I agree with you, Denise, and so does David. And with AI, how it can go into this document and create something that we should negotiate a flat fee. And, no billable rates of,
Right.
$500 an hour for something
Yeah.
that is formulaic that, and if we have to reach out to another firm that represents condo associations, let's do that so we can get the best rate possible.
Right.
And, if I had agentic AI, which, well, yeah, I have some, but it would take me hours and I'm not the attorney for the
Yeah.
association.
Right.
Okay,
So, question after you.
okay.
So can we send a letter to every resident when we hire that to say they will be liable if they have an electric bike in their apartment and something happens to the building?
They already are liable.
Where does it say that?
But who knows if they have the money? So in other words, if you create damage to the condominium association, you are liable in our documents. I'm not sure how clear it is, but I think that we can send a letter prohibiting charging of electric bikes and units.
Right, well, it was with the construction, like if you're doing work in your apartment.
Also,
things like that, you're
is
liable.
responsible. If I create a water leak, which
Yeah.
I did, unbeknownst to me, and leak downstairs, I'm responsible for that woman's damage. But
Yeah.
I would be responsible for damage to my unit, and I'm responsible for any damage I cause. That's a different problem for the insurance committee, because if I cause $5 million worth of damage, I'm sorry. I just don't want to pay it. I don't have $5 million worth of insurance. So that is something I would like to address with the insurance committee to say, do we need to have additional policies? Or is there an additional policy that Playa del Sol should have with
Well,
all
for the
these
electric.
new hazards?
Is there any way we could tap into
Oh,
all
I'm
the
sorry,
other buildings?
Well, we have a motorcycle parking agreement you have to sign. Wouldn't it just be that simple to have an electric bicycle
Yep.
agreement you need to sign?
That,
That would be good.
Yeah, I have to, that is a good point, but I don't think, it doesn't say, don't charge your motorcycles. It could, so that's an alteration of another agreement. But we are responsible for damage we cause.
Marcia, maybe it's possible I can ask Gary and Tony at the Hermitage and the Regency South if they have any kind of rules that they've implemented for the electric bikes and have run them by their council.
that's a good
Maybe
idea.
that would help us.
Yeah,
Instead of doing the legwork from step one, we could probably jump a few steps if they've done it already.
and I like that idea, and that's what we would submit to outside counsel. This is what
Okay, I'll tap into those two guys.
Yeah, because I bet when we submit these to outside counsel, along with the Becker letter of 2021 about just getting all new bylaws, which makes sense. And also all the changes that they recommended are pretty decent. I think that, that would be part of our flat fee as well as a timeline. How quickly can you get these done and get them to us so all of us can review it quickly with timelines and deadlines?
Well, I'm gonna call the both of them today and see if they can send me something.
Thank you very much. Any,
Yes.
I just want
Doesn't First Service, they manage all these buildings, can't they find out what all the policies and find out quickly, with all the other buildings that they manage?
well, and they probably could, but Denise is today, right now,
Right.
and she will figure out what the Hermitage is doing and, maybe they even have a room that's,
For
has a lot of
charging.
air circulation on a non-flammable floor where people charge. They have a lot more amenities than we do.
I
So,
just wanna
this,
sorry, go ahead.
oh, okay. I don't see my picture on here, so I don't know if you guys are seeing me.
You're beautiful.
Well, thank you. No, my question was going to be, if Scott works for such a huge company around the country, I mean, they're huge. Don't they have something in place that we can try to reach out to without having to spend a bunch of money with attorneys? And we already would have a skeleton that we can present to an attorney and say, can you put Playa del Sol's name on this?
Now, I'm sure in the documents, because I used to negotiate management agreements, that is an additional fee. So, that's,
Sure, no, I understand that.
yeah.
But
And
rather
it's
than trying to
possible-
figure out what somebody's doing, they're in Miami where a lot of people, I mean, you talk about a lot of bicycles, a lot of electric bicycles, and these guys, Scott's company is all over the big buildings in Miami. They probably have something already in place that we could reach out to and, that would help out to get this started. But I
Marcia,
think
do you want to send Scott an email, or do you want me to send Scott an email asking him to reach out to?
Denise, do you mind doing it? Because you're gonna check with the Hermitage
Got
and
it.
you're gonna
Okay.
check with Scott. And
Got
that
it.
is a good idea because yes, they're all over the country, including where I'm from, Minneapolis. They have a lot of
Okay.
buildings they
Yeah.
manage in Minneapolis. But there are also a lot of add-on fees too. So other than that, anything else? Any other agenda items?
Well, I sent the letter in and I don't know if you're.
Just a second, I had something to add before to the electric bikes. First, do we know the scope? Do we know how many electric bikes actually exist in the building? Maybe there's one, maybe there's two, maybe there's none. So maybe it's a non-issue and we're talking about it now for the past 10, 15 minutes and it's not an issue currently. So that's one thing. Second thing I want to bring up is whatever restrictions we put on electric bikes is the same restriction we're going to put on our cell phones, same restriction we're going to put on our electric cars, because it's literally the same technology. I know a lot of people, I mean, for the lack of knowledge or understanding, say, hey, no electric bikes are allowed in the building, and that's fine. But then the reason for that would be the battery. And that's the real reason why we're all worried about electric bikes. But electric bikes, battery is essentially a few cell phones tacked together. So what we should do, instead of saying, hey, no electric bikes or electric bikes only through the window, or I don't know what, some other crazy thing, we need to come up with regulations that would say, where are you allowed to charge it? Under what conditions are you allowed to charge it? So when time comes, and God forbid it happens, and something goes wrong and really an incident happens and investigations open up, then we can see, hey, they didn't go through our documents. They didn't follow the rules that we're supposed to, and that's why they are basically they committed whatever they committed. So that's what I think we should be doing, rather than say, hey, anybody who's driving an electric bike is terrible, because to be honest,
Not
electric
terrible.
bike and a scooter, one of those electric scooters that you can rent down the street, there's absolutely zero data. And by the way, there is the article that you sent from 2024. For the past 2 years, the technology has evolved so much at this point that we can't even, like, it's not even apples to apples. So if we really want to stay up to date, like Marcia said, we have to look at current present data, and we have to take everything into scope, meaning everything that is charging. Like, so if a cell phone gets charged with not the genuine charger, that can cause a serious fire just as much as electric bike, just as much as a scooter, and just as much as an electric car. So we have to take all that into account.
Okay, but the thing is, David, I'm not going to charge my electric car in my unit. That is a
Cell
different.
phone, you will.
Cell phones, yes.
I hope
But
you will.
what I'm saying is more damage can be caused by an electric bike fire than a cell phone. So, but we want
No.
electric. Okay.
No, Marcia, that's not. I'm
Okay.
sorry, I apologize for that, but that's incorrect. It's usually
Okay.
that the fire that is caused by one of the cells. A cell could be as tiny as the tip of my finger, and that could cause a fire. And that's what your cell phone is made out of, a bunch of cells. And electric bike is just more cells. Electric car, even more cells. So all that, it's enough for one cell to go bad, and most of the time, an ungenuine cell to be installed or be charged with an ungenuine cable, that can cause the damage. And from all the research I've looked at, because I've written those preliminary rules, most places and most condos in Florida actually request and they make you have to charge your electric bike or a cell phone or anything that is chargeable inside your unit, especially now with the fire rating, with the ELSS, with all this stuff. If you put it out in the hallway, it could be a huge problem. If you put if you put it in the garage, which, by the way, now the fire department is looking at the garage as a combustible area, as a combustible zone. That's why we rate it in a different way. Then we're not even allowed to put electric wires for the fire system inside the garage because they look at it as a combustible place.
Okay, so that's a good thing to know.
Yeah. So I
what
think.
I'm suggesting not to prohibit electric bikes. They are the future.
No, I agree. I think it's just, we have to put really, like, we have to think about the rules, come up with those rules and say, hey, that's what you're supposed to follow. I agree. Like, prohibiting them, it makes no sense. I mean, this is where everybody's going.
So I don't know about batteries, but there's got to be a reason why on the airlines they specify no lithium batteries.
That's
Which
what
are
that
your cell
article
phone.
is.
Yeah, that's in your cell phone also. I don't know if they specify that, but they do allow you to take lithium ion batteries on top, but not under, because if it goes on fire, then they at least get to see it.
Then you can't see the fire. Yeah. Then you can't.
Okay, well, that's very interesting too, with regard to electric bikes.
Yeah.
You know, what about electric paddle boards? You know, we're gonna have those too.
That's a good point.
And hoverboards and,
I'm actually
you know,
contemplating
things
buying
that
one.
are not even addressed or prohibited, or you can have a chair that you could register with the association, but you can't have your not a kayak, but, you know, a hoverboard. Those cannot be in the common area.
Complicated.
Well,
It is complicated.
Can I go even further? I can, like, a wheelchair that is
Yeah.
motorized.
Electric.
That could be a huge problem, right? It's literally, I don't see a difference between a wheelchair and an electric bike, apart from the use of it. The technology is exactly the same.
Disability.
Yeah, disability.
Yeah.
It's also the knockoff batteries that they're, it's
That's
also the
the problem.
knockoff batteries that they're using on these electric bikes.
That
That's
is-
where a lot of
that's
the fires
exactly
in
the
New
problem.
York.
Exactly.
They're buying knockoff batteries because they're a lot cheaper. They're not securing them properly, and there you go.
But again, so
So-
Denise, so how do you monitor that? That's the question. And exactly. And I think it's the
It's
problem is not us monitoring, is we have to put rules. If someone wants to eat in the pool, they'll eat in the pool regardless what the rules are. But later on, we can come and fine them for figuring out that they ate in the pool. Same thing with a battery. You use a battery that is not genuine, then you go, somebody finds out, we'll fine you for that because you can hurt all of us.
Correct.
And that's scary.
Something?
Yes, go ahead, Brock.
Well, according to Claude, electric bikes are no more likely than an electric car. or a gasoline car to catch on fire. But the problem is, which has been hit on it, is that when people have a non-certified electric bikes, like in the UK, they did a study and they found that 40% of electric bike fires were basically somebody took a kit and built their own electric bike. The state of Florida is going to be passing a law shortly with the revision, according to Claude. The state of Florida is redoing the fire code, and that the new fire code may be addressing this. And the new fire code is actually going to make it illegal to do your homemade electric bike. So,
Okay.
and Miami County, which I think will definitely come up here to Broward County, they've already decided that if you have multiple electric bikes, like 5 of them, that requires a special hazard area. But to me, it just seems like the common sense, going back at what was said earlier about keep it simple, stupid, is just to pass a rule that says that if you're going to have an electric bike, you have to sign an agreement, and that the agreement says that you have to charge it in the garage in the bike area. And just have it be like the motorcycles. And I don't think we really need, you could have Claude write up the agreement. And then, if we want to revisit this when the new fire code comes out, revisit it when the new fire code comes out.
Well, all we have to say is, accept that in the event of any changes to the, owner will automatically comply with the new fire code.
I suspect David and I both have
The
multiple
law.
subscriptions to Claude and Gemini.
I do too, but I
Right.
researched this
We
and
could
talked
write
about
it. We could probably write an agreement
Yeah.
and just pass a
That should go in the application.
standalone rule at the next board meeting.
But what we're saying is, let's get all of this fixed, all the ambiguities, all of the confusion, all of everything with outside counsel who is using Claude, has a good agentic AI system to really pare this down, to make it usable, readable, easy to follow with a table of contents that makes sense. So this goes along with it. Yes, we have additional motorcycle, we have bicycles. The last meeting we talked about, look at electric bikes the same way as bicycles. No, it's not the same.
No, it's
So
not.
we do have to, Denise is gonna check on this with Scott as well as what the Hermitage is doing. And we are going to get bids of how much everything is gonna cost to get this right. And a timeline, because this could go on forever.
And then that goes
Yeah.
on the board meeting.
Absolutely.
Regardless of electric bikes, I think that Steve and the incredible crew that is sitting right here right now has done an incredible job last year, meeting after meeting after meeting, coming up with new rules and polishing them. And I think all we have to do right now is take literally what they prepared, give it to a lawyer. We're pretty much done half their work already. And he'll put in the lingo and everything needs to go in and tell you if it makes sense or doesn't. And that's it. And the work is pretty much done.
Yes, and make them,
Agree.
We'll do the legwork.
yeah. So who would be, Denise, who would be the one to negotiate with outside counsel? And David, who's on the board who negotiates with
Scott.
outside
It's
counsel?
it's usually Steve and Todd.
I'm not
Okay.
Scott. Scott is probably the head at the point.
Yeah.
Always talks to always the outside, whatever it is, the outside world. And then Stephen and Todd will probably take a look into it.
Okay, and there are firms who do deal with condominium associations and represent them, other than Becker, that we might want to reach out to get basically a quote. And the quote would include how much it's going to cost, so we can bid this out and compare costs. It doesn't necessarily have to be Becker. And I would probably go to 2 or 3 firms. because some could be hungry.
Marcia, do you know any firms that you could reach out to and get quotes?
Yeah,
So that maybe we could present it to the board at one of the meetings?
I could make a recommendation, but I don't want to present it to the board. I just rather present it to, just not at the meeting, but just, let someone in the board bring it up. Because they're gonna have to talk to these people.
Okay.
And
Interview.
yes, yes.
Well, I respect your decision, but I'm just gonna share this, which a former board member shared with me once. Is that to get into this building, you had to do a lot of things right in life, like to afford the condo unit, to go figure out how to buy the unit, whether you get a loan or you're gonna pay cash for it, in which case you figured out how to accumulate a big pile of cash to buy the unit. I just find it hard to believe that the people who can do all that can't read the rules as they're written now.
But
Because
they're
then,
ambiguous.
well, I don't know that I fully agree with
Okay.
that. In December, all I can say is in December, I was the sole voice who stood up in the meeting. I was probably like one of the 3 homeowners who attended the meeting. And I was the sole voice who said, hey, I don't think we're ready to proceed forward on these rules. And I was told, hey, we've worked on them for 2 years. We want to get them passed now because we want to publish them. We want to get the book sent out in the mail by January, and then you're going to start implementing these things. And then the other thing I've continuously heard is that the rules aren't meant to be carved in stone like Moses's 10 commandments or God's 10 commandments, and that they were meant to be a living document. And if it's meant to be a living document, then we can't be running to the attorneys every time we want to change and nuance. So I personally think that the decision was made pretty much last December that the rules for better or worse with he, she, they, it were passed and stuff. And it was 2 years. And I think now's the time. And I'll tell you, I'm still frustrated because we have this rule that says no hallway decorations. And yet I go to 27th floor, I see the hallway decorations. On 24th floor, I see all the hallway decorations. So I don't think the problem we have here is the fact that the rules are unclear. I think it's the fact that we just haven't gotten to the stage of implementing them and having buy-in. I really don't think we need this attorney expense.
Okay, well, that's your opinion.
Well, as I say, I respect your right to go send it to an attorney, but I don't think that that's the problem that's preventing people following the rules.
Well, no one knew we had rules that were enacted. I never did. They weren't published in a book that I ever saw. There are ambiguities regarding, as you continuously point out, and also the fact that you wanted to have arbitration and they said, no, we can't do it. We need to have arbitration before litigation.
Well, but I don't think that would happen in the rules. That would happen in the bylaws.
No, it would be in the rules.
No,
It
but
would
also,
be.
Brooke, let me ask you this. I understand what you're saying. We don't need lawyers. And to be honest, I'd love to do without lawyers. No offense, Marsha, but there is, because they cost a lot of money and they usually cause a lot of headache. But at the same time, when we put in our rules, guests, then somebody needs to define what a guest is. When we put family members, somebody needs to go and make sure that family members is defined everywhere and it's defined properly. When we put parcels, when we put all sorts of terms, this is something that lawyers are literally designed for, where us as simple or as sophisticated as we are, I don't know if we can really touch upon that point and with something for sure, we're not going to sign off on it, right? Because if you sign off on it, you're liable.
So
And
I
said,
think
decorations. If you don't enforce the rules that you have, we don't even know what
Well,
notice is.
I thought when as I say, in December, when I held my hand up and said, hey, I don't think we should pass these now. And everybody and was like really nasty looking. And they said, hey, we're passing it anyway. And I thought that was the decision of the 370 units. It was binding and we were going to enforce them.
so. I've only lived in the building for 5 years. We've been building for 5 years. And what I see is that at will, if I were to just throw a number out there, over 75% of the people in the building just violate the rules for the hell of it. Like that in the last week, I had to remove at least 3 times carts from the elevator on our tower. Okay.
Yeah, me
All
too.
right. So, but having said that, I think since Scott came in and some of the new people that have been brought in, I think we were very used to the same old people who became friends. And you can't have an employee who enforces the rule becoming too much of a friend with a person that lives in the building, because that familiarity breeds contempt. And so eventually it's okay to violate rule 1, rule 2, rule 3. And so I think
And you know what,
from
Jose,
what
it's
I've
also
seen over,
apparently it would be okay to violate electric bike rules and electric
no,
whatever.
no, let's
Hold on.
not take it
I
to that.
agree with
What
you.
I'm saying is that what we need to do is hold accountable the people that are employed to say this. Okay, but here's the problem. When I see the cart in the elevator, I keep an eye on what apartment did it because I'm keeping an eye on it and I'm writing to the office about it.
Good for you.
The person in apartment so and so put the cart in the elevator and send the elevator down. Why do I know? Because the elevator was stopped there while I was waiting for it. And when it arrived at the first floor, the cart was in the elevator. But if we just sort of haphazardly walk along the way and ignore things as they happen,
Yeah.
then, when I came in, the people driving in the parking lot downstairs, on the south thing, are all going the wrong way every which way. Yeah. 2 or 3 times I encountered somebody. People didn't like that I said things, but you know what? It would be really ugly if somebody just came in from the wrong way thinking that their sensor opened the gate when it was actually my sensor that opened the gate, and we have a crash. Then the ugly begins. So I think part of the problem is that the residents themselves are not saying, hey, these rules need to be looked at or
Yeah.
not. I found out the other day that the camera on the beach is not working. Well, why is it not working? When my cabana is being disturbed every other night, which I have had to put a chain on to keep people from pooping in it.
Pooping.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
People,
if
not ducks. I mean,
do what?
That's
not
awful.
geese.
Yeah, and you know what? The birds don't use toilet paper.
Oh my
Yeah.
Understand that.
Yeah. So I talked to security, and security said part of the problem was
That's a thing.
that the camera's not working down there. Well, and that we can't say anything to the homeless because then they would have to be arrested and all that. So fine. So now I've bought a chain, and now every time I put my cabana up or open it, I got to go through all that. So, but if people don't complain about what's happening, then anyway, I'll stop. But yeah.
Just to firm this up, I do think we need clarity in these rules to make them simpler, to make them easier to follow. And then also, I want to know what violations are happening all the time where, we should put more emphasis. Because when you don't enforce rules, they become the new rules because rules have to be reasonable and enforced in a non-discriminatory manner. And so when you don't enforce your rules, these are the rules. The non-enforcement becomes the rules. So let's clean this up. And I will give Denise, I don't know, 1 or 2 more firms other than Becker. How many, Denise?
I don't know any other firms down there. If you
Okay.
have a couple,
I'll come up with 2 more who are good, who handle condominium association, at least in my reasonable opinion, because I don't
Okay.
really practice here anymore.
Are you familiar with David Podine's firm?
No.
Well, they do a lot of condo law.
How do
Okay,
you spell that?
Podein.
David?
Yeah.
so if there isn't anything else, I would like someone to call for an end to this.
Can I just add something?
The letter I wrote
We
to
have a
you.
grievance committee.
Your letter
Yes.
regarding stickers, right? It was stickers on the
No, I
car.
had 5 issues. One was a very simple one to just clearly state, and this is where I get confused, is you say that the rules are too long and complex, and you want to simplify them, but then we have the situation like with the Sunset pool closure, where security once said, hey, if it's 4:30 and you look at the sky and you can't see the sun, because the sun's behind the clouds, it's sundown and the pool's closed. And again, my position was that we should use the published data that's widely accepted by the federal government, not the fact that the sun's hidden behind the clouds.
Okay,
And
that
so-
makes sense.
So I recommended that we change the rule to allow a 15-minute period from published sundown to start enforcing that rule, which keeps us in compliance with the Florida rule that says you can't swim at night without proper sunlight.
That
which
makes
I-
sense.
And I've been working on that for 5 years, and like the wheelchair. And the other one I was to just give people grace, give people like one free error. Like I actually had restored my headlamp and forgot that somebody had put a RFID on my headlamp. And so now I just take the sticker and I keep it in my cigarette lighter slot area and wave it if I need to. And you think that we could just say, hey, you know, you learn once, and then once I go to the office and have to say, hey, I did this shitty thing with my headlamp, then next time when I get my car cleaned or something, I'm going to remember I need to peel this thing off. And so, and I also said that when you bought a new car, like once every 2 or 3 years, I forgot which it was, that you could get an at cost replacement of the RFID, not the punitive replacement cost. And then I also said that since we appear to have, for the last 6 years, not enforced the hallway decorations, because I know there's a group of people who want a unified hallway design, and I'm not against that. But if for 6 years we haven't enforced this rule, then why don't we just make the rule now that you're allowed to put hallway decorations, and if somebody objects, that Scott will try to negotiate it with prejudice towards removing the art. In other words, if Scott can't get 2 people, we'll take the art down.
Yeah.
But I know that the 5 people who live in my unit, not the 2-3 people who occasionally visit a couple times a year, they all say, Brooke, go ahead and put the art.
Yeah,
So
I
have
think
the
there
fire-
should be no hallway decoration.
But now you even took away, because I went to Scott and I said, hey, can I have everybody's personal files so that I can go stalk them and get their signature to get the complete 10 that I needed? And then when I put in that document inspection request to go through everyone's personal files so that I could track down the people who I've never met in my entire life.
Yeah. So sorry to interrupt, but I understand what you're saying. I'm in favor of no hallway decorations like the rules say, because everybody has individual
Well,
tastes.
Let's face it, Kathy and Alex want decorations, and they're not
Okay.
gonna take it down, and
Then they'll
they're-
get notice.
Brooke, by the way, a good idea is if someone puts decorations and you're not allowed, take the decoration, move it to another floor, see what happens.
Yeah, keep on moving your decorations.
No, but hold on. Phyllis actually had a really good question. I would love to know the answer.
What about the document? I mean, the grievance committee?
Yeah.
We formed it, but no one's been getting
Are we
any
even sending any
notification.
letters to anybody?
So if there's no
Yes.
consequences,
That,
Chairperson of the grievance committee, and supposedly I asked Steve, he said, oh, you have to deal with the rules first. And then once the rules, but you can still send out default notices, and you can still prevent people from using certain common areas, but not the ones that are set forth in our rules, because that is not correct, that David correctly pointed out. You can't prohibit them from parking. That is not allowed under Florida law.
Yeah,
So whatever it is, I think no decorations in the hall. Let's start that way. And if Alex and Kathy, maybe they don't care if they pay fines, if in fact that happens. But let's get these rules in a way that they're easy to follow. They make sense. They're in accordance with Florida law and reflect all the work that Phyllis did, Steve did, Denise did, David did. I don't know, Holly did, Brooke, Isabella. So let's get these right so they make sense.
But could I bring up one point? I mean, Jose and Brooke are both right. You could have all the rules in the world, and I'm very big on if you have rules, there needs to be consequences. If there's no consequences, you have no rules. You can
Correct.
always lighten up on the rules, but you need to let owners know these are the rules, but there has to be a consequence when they break the rule. The problem I see and have seen for years here, there are rules. And as Jose and Brooke said, no consequences. So that's why this building is like a free-for-all and people do whatever they want because nobody is being held accountable. And
Correct.
when you bring it to the board or you bring it to the office, it just sits.
yeah.
So maybe the committee needs to make recommendations to the board that we need to start enforcing these violations,
No.
not
Yes.
overlook it.
We've got to
Because-
get these rules that make sense or that aren't so ambiguous in many of these paragraphs. We have to get these clarified. We have to do it quickly. I do want to see the default notices if they're confidential, which I don't think they should be. I don't think they are.
I want to
Or-
I want to echo what Denise just said. And
Yes.
if Steve says that we first need to do the rules, then we can start putting people on the
Notice.
pedestal, whatever it is. I think you should tell Steve, please bring it up to the board and let the board discuss this, because I think there is I would love to come up in front of a judge and say, hey, first finish the rules and then you can judge me. Because that makes no sense. I mean, you judge based on whatever rules you have.
They need to have violations
Yes.
down.
The rules
So-
were passed. And these are the rules that were passed. And I don't understand why the enforcement committee just didn't use them. But when we go through these rules that were passed, we've got a lot of ambiguity. We have a lot of overly broad. We have balconies are not utilized for construction hobbies or repetitive projects. Some of these do not even make sense and would be
Man,
impossible.
if you want to go.
Yeah, it's not even that. It's just like as I said, it's like just the little things, even the courtesy of putting the cart back into place. If there's no consequence, why
Yeah.
would I do it?
Yeah.
So
We-
I have a question.
Putting them
Um,
down
a-
money,
As
dude.
the manager, I have a question. As the manager of the property, Scott walks the property, correct?
Yes,
Every day I mean, it's a lot of property to walk. I get that. He can't do the whole property every single day. I get that. I think actually overall he does a good job. But then if he sees something wrong, then who does he have to report it to the committee before anybody does anything? Or as the
No.
manager,
he's
can
sending
he
out
put as the manager, can he send that place an email that says you are in violation of this
Yes.
rule? How does that
Yeah.
work?
Well, Isabella just said they're not sending the notices.
So there is a process that starts with violation letters. So in order to come in front of a committee, a grievance committee, you need to go through the violation process. It has to start with that violation letter to the
Whoever-
guilty party.
So Scott would do that, or who does that?
You can
Well,
start. Oh,
We formed a committee, but it never went to fruition.
And we just asked, and Denise, I think you thought Scott was sending out the letters. The
Scott
violation.
sends them out, or Isabella, yes. So for example, if you have a group that comes in and totally abuses the pool, drinking in the pool, eating in the pool, and it gets reported, yes, a violation letter will go to that unit.
I'd like to
But
see
if
the
it's-
violation letters.
If it's outrageous, then in order to get consequences, that should then be brought to the board, because it has to be approved at a board meeting before it can go to the grievance committee.
The
So
fine,
Doesn't make sense.
that's the Florida, that's the rule.
Really?
But if it's something like that in the pool and you see it, and you might have had this incident with this group before, it should go to the board should approve it and send it to the grievance committee. Whether the grievance committee, grants the fine or not, that's fine, but there has to be some kind of consequences moving down the road other than just the letter.
I agree, but we don't even see the letters and we don't know what the most, what rules are being violated the
Right.
most. I'd like to see the letter so we can.
There's no
I
letter.
would-
So is there a fine? Is there a fine already defined for each one of these rule violations? Because I think that's where you got to start.
No, Florida
Just
law
say,
said,
I'll give you an example.
Standards.
You park in reverse in a parking space, you
Mhm.
automatically get a $50 fine because you can be warned twice, one or two warnings, and then on the third warning,
to
you
follow
get
That
Yeah,
statute,
uh,
it doesn't
I
apply.
would say Florida
Yeah,
does
Florida
have
statute
laws
has-
specifically that address what fines you can impose
The
and how
amount,
you
how
have
much
to
it could be per
enforce
violation.
those fines.
There are standards.
And one of the ways you can enforce it is deny repeat offenders who don't pay the fines, let's say, deny them access to the common areas. You can
Okay.
also have a record that in the event they are selling their unit, you can't put a lien on the unit, but
Correct.
you can sue them individually for violating the fines. So in
but the fine, Florida law says you can only fine up to $100 for each offense,
yeah,
only to a maximum of $1,000.
yeah,
So
that's a lot.
if I park in backwards 50 times and I pay my $1,000, there's nothing the association can do to me.
So I use that as an example.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm
Yeah,
keeping
no,
track with
yeah,
who's
yeah.
parking in which way, but I use that as an example. But other things like
Excuse me,
you
the
know,
the
people
association,
that are not allowed on the property that are being given, grandkids that are being given a key to walk in
yeah,
when that's not part of the rule is if
well,
there's
the
a grandkid coming
grandchild
in, the
could
child
be
the parent has
a
to be there.
family
You
member.
may,
It's
part of the
it's a
immediate family.
member.
Immediate family.
Yes,
yeah.
excuse me.
Yes.
Second. You can deny people who violate and don't pay the fines. You can deny them access to
Correct.
certain common areas.
Okay.
Not parking, not ingress and egress, but certain
Right.
amenities like the pool, like the game room. So, I mean, no one wants to be ostracized from the
Right.
community. But what I'm saying is, since these rules were already passed as is, despite the ambiguities and the confusion, I don't understand why we have to do this again rather than have the fining committee deal with, let's use them as is.
Right.
But Steve said you have to get through this first before you can then hold a fining committee meeting. That's why I want to see these letters of default. Are the tenants are the ones who are creating mayhem? Are they the ones not returning the carts? Are there primarily pool violations? I mean, what are these violations and how are they put on a grid to see what is really happening in this building?
So, Marcia, I just want to point this out. It's very good. It's very interesting what Jose says, because at the end of the day, let's say I want to put decorations in my hallway, and I think that $1,000 to pay a year for hallway decoration, I'm more than happy to pay that. Yeah. Hey, keep finding me. I don't care. It's $1,000. I'm happy to go. I'll pay the $1,000. I'll get what I want and screw everybody. I think that fining is sort of like sort of like a game there. That's why even the Florida law looks at it in that way. It's not really the stick, as we say. It's not really the punishment. That shouldn't be the punishment. We need to come up with something a little bit more interesting as the punishment, something that people actually care. Because at the end of the day, we're all residents. We all like as much as we don't want to call it, but it's one big happy family. That's what we want to be.
But
So
you are right.
But
if
we,
someone's not following the rules,
the law,
we need to find
and
some
you
kind of a
can-
unique
yeah.
way to punish them, yeah, to sort of explain to them, please do what you're supposed to do.
the hallway thing, I find the hallway thing interesting because if we allow everybody to put what they want out there, we are going to look like a major flea market,
Like a zoo.
like a zoo. So I see that everybody has their own taste. Put it inside your house.
The committee overseeing this
David,
doesn't see it.
Can you put enforcement of the rules on the next board agenda? Because I'm going to be blunt here. I've spoken to a board member, and I won't name their name, but first off, it was interesting because they told me I was stupid to follow the hallway decoration rule. And I think that's part of the problem, is that people just said, hey, it's not worth spending 6 years to try to change a rule when you can just ignore it. Because quite frankly, people continue, like with the wheelchairs. Now we allow wheelchairs if you go through special certification, but people still continue to put a bunch of trash in front of their parking spaces. With the hallway decorations, it's simple because the association could just take them down if they wanted to.
That's okay. That's what needs to be done.
How we've recorded
I
that
agree.
we have a problem, and I think the board has a fiduciary responsibility, the way the same board member described it, was that the board supervises the first service, who's our building manager. And I think now we've had a call that has been, a meeting that has been recorded by Florida law that documents we have a problem with first service enforcing the rules that were passed in December, with the only objection being my objection in December. So I think the board needs to put it on the agenda and either just decide, hey, first service, we're going to direct you to enforce these rules, the hallway decoration rule, the rule for storing stuff in front of your parking space that I think should be made more liberal, but I respect the decision. And I think that you guys, unless you want another shareholder lawsuit saying you're not doing fiduciary responsibility, we need to get to it.
What
We were
shareholder,
just talking about lawyers and how you don't want to use lawyers because it costs extra money. Don't say that.
I don't even know what kind of lawsuit that would be. You're not using
Well,
your.
like the same.
Brooke, can you be very specific? What is it that you think needs to be on the next agenda? We'll raise it to Steve, and Steve is the one that
That's a
ultimately
whole
has that.
different story.
the
That
decision.
was more involved than that. That had to do with a board member who was also doing construction, and it was a lot
But it
more
was a
complicated.
shareholder lawsuit over fiduciary responsibility, and I know there's a group
Oh,
of
boy.
6 homeowners I've talked to.
No, but regardless, Brooke,
Now.
regardless, we currently have bikes that are parked in the parking lot of the biking parking lot, and we send
Right.
people emails. If you know this
You
bike,
know,
please let us know. If you
until-
don't, we remove it. Simple as that. And
Okay.
you put decorations. We send you an email, second email, third email. Don't do it. We'll remove it. You come look for it after.
Well, that's what y'all did with my wheelchair you took away from my parents.
Okay, which is by the way, fair enough.
We had 10
Sorry,
days
yeah.
to move the wheelchair, or you were gonna take it away. So all throughout COVID, we kept the wheelchair in my kitchen the whole time.
You'll need to adjourn because you need to adjourn in order for this. to
Yeah,
finish.
yeah, okay, we need to adjourn right now. Sorry about that. Will
Yes.
someone make a motion to
I have
adjourn?
another meeting.
Okay,
Thank you, guys. I have to go. I have another meeting.
okay.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much,
Have
everybody.
a great
Incredible
day.
work.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very
Take
much.
care, guys.
Let's stay friends.
Okay.
Phyllis.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Nice seeing you. Thank you.